Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey, sisters, how y'all doing this evening?
Hey there.
Hi.
Great.
Hello, hello. Well, as you all know, my sister is still traveling, but we have a little surprise. She's going to sneak in for a minute to say hello. So let me bring her in.
Hey, sister. Hey, sisters. How are y'all? Happy to see your beautiful faces on your evening, my morning here.
Good to see you too. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Good morning to you. So tell us, you are international. You don't have to tell us where you are and whatever, but as you said, it is morning time
Well,
for you.
then
You're
let
getting
me.
ready to start your, oh yeah. Getting ready to start your work day. How's it going for you?
It's going.
Okay,
It's
absolutely.
going. It's a very different experience. Number one, working for a company that is not headquartered in the United States. Having close teammates. Like I've worked with other teammates who were international, but having folks on who sit on the same team, I can say that one, I've gotten a greater appreciation for what it means to be sort of the satellite offices, if you
Hmm.
will, in a global company. Um, but yes, it's culturally a lot of things are very different. And let's face it, I am a 5'11" black woman from the United States with a lot of curly hair. And so I kind of stand up.
Well, stallions
Can't
are
really just,
really
well, but I can't really sneak around and be incognito.
Okay. All right. Well, then, since we are talking about hair tonight and we know you have lots of it, do you have a burning hair question for our experts? And then we'll go ahead on and introduce them and then we'll let you get on with your day.
Well, I probably will stay on watching anyway while I work on things because I can do two things at one time. But do I have a burning hair question? You know, I guess my burning question, like, I will say from my own personal journey, when I was in high school, probably around 11th, 12th grade, I started with actual chemical relaxers. Obviously, before then, God bless, even with naturally curly hair, your girl had a lot of other experiences. Let's just say that, because this natural hair situation didn't come up for a few years. But in terms of products and things like that, about 2000 is when I decided that I just was like, I'm done with the relaxers. And I haven't regretted that. I did some texturizing in the first few years, but then, you know, have been completely natural for over 20 years. That being said, how serious is this matter of young black women not having a connection to their natural hair and not understanding how to like live in their natural hair, if that makes sense.
Girl, we got a
That's
whole
a
thing on
very
that.
loaded question, I know.
Cultural identity. We will go talk about it tonight. So what is this identity crisis we seem to be in when it comes to um the aesthetic that we find pleasing
The aesthetic that we find pleasing, but also the damage that is being done while we're
in
searching for
pursuit
that
of that aesthetic?
uh, in pursuit of that aesthetic. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Thank
yeah.
you, sister.
All right. Well, I'm gonna turn it over to you, ladies. Sister, we gonna
Well,
pull
you got
you.
to introduce you. You can pull me down, but introduce them first.
Okay,
Give
yeah.
them their
Oh,
props because them sisters deserve it. Okay.
yeah, child. Let me. Okay, see. Okay, now I got to remix and go back to the top of the. Okay, hey, you are tuned in right now. You are live watching Hey Sister, and I am here with my two friends, experts in this game. My friend, my physician, Dr. LaReesa Ferdinand. She is a woman's integrative health specialist, and she is here because this hair thing is not just an outside thing, right? It's not just a vanity thing. It's not just an outside thing. It's an inside out type of job. And Miss Ukali Brown, who we were doing the math, who has been doing my hair for nearly a decade. And I have referred her to many people because I always get asked questions about my hair. And like, well, how do you get your hair to do this? And how do your hair stay healthy? And as recent as a few weeks ago, asking me, well, hey Tim, how you doing, girl? Asking me questions about, well, how did you, because I dyed my hair for several years in there, and we're like, well, how did you have all that blonde hair and none of your hair fell out? And I'm like, because I got somebody who know how to do my hair. And that's what she did. She dyed it blonde and bleached it and stripped it and did all the things. So I had beautiful hues and various hues and was able to keep the hair growing out of my scalp healthy. So, Ukali Brown, I don't know, Ukali, if you want to just tell us a little bit about how long you've been in hair game, and then Dr. LaReesa will let you tell us a little bit about your journey as a physician and how you are actually diving more into this hair thing right now.
I have been doing hair pretty much my whole life. I started, my mother had us helping her with her roller sets because she used to roll her hair with the pink rollers at night, the soft ones. And when she couldn't get it right, she would make us help her do it. And at first, you're reluctant, but then you catch on and you get good at it. And she's complimenting you. And I realized that I became like the neighborhood hairstylist. I would do my friends' hair, whoever wanted their hair done. At a very young age, I started doing my own hair at 8. But that was all from guidance from my mother. And I didn't start going to a hairstylist until I was old enough to pay for it myself. So when I was about 16 or 17. But also with the guidance of my mother. Professionally, I've been doing hair for about 20 years. And it was a complete turn because I was in restaurants and restaurant management and things of that. But I've always had a love for hair, and I never pursued that. So I just stopped what I was doing, made an about face, and went into hair. And it's the best thing I've ever done because I haven't stopped. And it'll probably always be part of my life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And thank you for making that about face, girl, because you have helped me tremendously. All right. So Dr. LaReesa, tell us a little bit about you and then how you are incorporating this hair thing into your practice now as a women's integrative health specialist.
Oh, absolutely. But first, I just feel like, can I just give a little bit more extension of Ukali? Ukali also makes some of her own products. Okay, so she is like mapping out, what that looks like for her clientele and for future clientele. So I just kind of want to put that out there about you as well. Because it's one thing to do hair, but you've been a celebrity stylist. So I'm just gonna, put all those things out there to add to your roses and flowers out there. Other than that, I'll start talking about myself. I'm Dr. LaReesa Ferdinand. I am the CEO founder of Thrive Beyond Wellness, a premier concierge style women's health practice. And my journey into hair has to do with serving so many women in the 40 plus field. My niche is perimenopause and menopausal care. However, I take care of women in different stages and lifestyle. So to see that hormonal impact as a women's health and hormone expert, when it came to hair, I felt like it was one of those things that I always dealt with hormones and gut. And we'll talk about that a little bit further into the program. And if that was one of the symptoms that people were experiencing, oftentimes certain triggers that we'll talk about as well. But honestly, as a physician, one of the things that used to affect me, when we're born, and as an OB, I can tell you 3 questions I usually hear. Is it a girl? Is it a girl, boy? Right? I get that. Does the baby have hair?
Mm.
And how much is the baby? So that psychological thing starts very young. So this kind of answers that identity question in a way,
Mhm.
because how we attach to it. And if we think about some of the science behind it, it's very intricate. And so I'll table that as well. But anyway, it's been one of those things where if I dealt with the internal, I felt it was part of my way of serving to help understand what can I do in addition, that is more advanced, modern, innovative, to help with the outside as well, and to make it a complete recovery process for women, as I'm using my internal expertise as well. So that has been my journey, and I've been rocking natural hair for the past 7 years this month. Also, am one of those people who used to ask Demetria, "Who does your hair?" And your colleague became my hairstylist as well in this journey. So this has been something where no matter what, I was relaxed and now natural, healthy hair, but it still has been an evolving area where our hair is our crown,
Mhm.
and that attachment for when people lose it or have issues with it becomes not only embarrassing, disparaging, or some things that, we don't openly talk about. So I'm glad we're having this discussion tonight.
Awesome. Well,
Mhm.
we're going to I'm gonna put the cultural identity a little further down because it
Okay.
is a huge question and
Mhm.
it leads into some of the other stuff. But since you talk about birth,
Mhm.
let's just talk about the natural life cycle of hair, right? So
Mhm.
if we're going to live to centenarians,
Mhm.
should we always have hair growing out our head? Like, what's the natural life cycle? Because we know
Mhm.
babies, and then they, because they sleep on their back, they lose their little hair back here until they
Mhm.
start able to move, then their hair grows back in that spot, right? Like, there's this kind of natural
Mhm.
life cycle to
Mhm.
hair. And so what is that
Mhm.
natural life cycle? And
Mhm.
should we be having hair
Mhm.
growing till the day we die?
Uh, yes and no, because
Okay.
I'm gonna keep it basic
Keep
because
it real basic. We don't need to,
that can
yeah,
open
later.
to different things. Because a lot of hair growth and in those life stages is driven a lot by genetics, environment, exposure, those type of things. And that is at its core. But the life cycle of a hair is separated in 3 stages. So you have the anagen stage, you have the catagen stage, and the telogen stage. And so in the catagen stage is what we're more familiar with. It's that growing phase. And that can go on for years. Average is 2 to 6 years of a hair follicle before it goes into a catagen stage, which is more of a transitional stage of hair, where it leads into that resting phase of what we may know as, okay, my hair is shedding or falling out to make way for new hair growth. But that's where the issue comes, where that new hair growth is not growing healthy or doing what we're used to do. And I'll throw a statistic out. By the time that we're noticing like physical hair loss, that process started months ago,
Hmm.
and it's already 50% reduced. So understand a lot is driven by genetics, environment, things that not only internally or what we're exposing our hair to, our environment is way much more toxic than what it used to be, even years ago, amongst our parents. So those things are some drivers and some triggers in between. Definitely, we can break down environment for quite a lot of umbrellas under there, but those essentially are the 3 stages of your hair
Okay.
follicle. Mhm.
All right. Okali, do you want to add to that?
She summed it up.
Okay.
I would just add that, especially as a hairstylist, um, depending on what type of hairstylist you are, I also look for internal situations and things that uh, help with hair growth, but also the topical things. This is very important to the hair. There's a great amount of hair that's always in the growth cycle, but we forget that if the hair is always growing and it's not getting longer, why are we not retaining length? So it's really about length retention. And that's very much an external factor as far as when you talk about hair length, and people want to see that. That's their biggest thing. Some people will have a few strands of very thin hair, but as long as it's long, they're okay with it. But personally, I know
No,
Dr.
that had
LaReesa
something to do
and
with
I,
that
we talk a
identity.
lot
That's a
about
ooh.
hormones and different things like that. And we both, I ask her lots of questions about hormones and things because I know those are direct effect of the thickness and the amount of hair you keep as you get older. So that's
The
as for
thickness, the
me.
luster, and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Your hair can get dull, it'll dry out no matter what you do, but it's medication you're taking, maybe an illness that you don't know that you have. It gets deep, like she said, it could get really deep as opposed, and it's just showing up in your hair. But what she said is the very basics of, just the hair growth cycle and all that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, then let's talk about then because okay, so y'all talked about hormones. So I can admit, see these little things, this little area right here, on my hair, I was one of those had to having my daughter. I decided to wrap my hair one night and I woke up the next morning and that hair was gone. I was like, what? I was in Atlanta at the time and my hairdresser, she was like, that's the hormones. Like that's natural after pregnancy. Most people they lose hair right here. I was like, girl, I did not think I was gonna wake up with a bald spot. Because you wrap your hair and you have that scarf on and then you take it down and you undo that wrap and you think it's just gonna do like this. And baby, this whole thing was gone right here. I said, what? Oh my. So that's a part. So let's talk about the importance of hair health, right? Like why is it important? Because why is it important for our hair to be healthy?
You want to start off, Ukali, and I'll
Okay.
follow up? Yeah.
I will. Okay. For me as a cosmetologist, it is important for hair health because it's a direct reflection of your internal health. A lot of times, if my clients are having issues with their hair, I will first ask them the basics. What are you doing? What are you using? What's your regimen? But if I know them and they're consistently coming to me, I'm asking deeper questions. Are you on medication? Did something change in your health? Not to be nosy, but it just helps me better serve the external, because what is going on inside will definitely show up on the hair strands, whether it's the density, you'll have bald spots, the thinning. I think a lot of women, I've experienced thinning after having kids. I remember I had about 2 inches from ear to ear completely gone. But in the pursuit of, just keeping my hair healthy, keeping my insides healthy, they grew back, but as you get older, things take a little bit more time. And what we have to do is more support what's going on internally. If you get the internal in a homeostasis, it'll take care of the hair. The hair is just a reflection of what's going on inside.
And the extension of that I wanted to add has to do with not only mentioning about those things of that are internal, but what I find is I feel like there's a cycle that's somewhere there where, depending on what's going on with the hair, are noticing some loss, and it's very common after pregnancy. And just know your hair will grow back. Your hair will grow back. I feel that, or at least in my experience, seeing women who might end up having to resort to wigs or weaves more consistently, is I I want to know why it is difficult for women to still talk about hair loss in that way, because what I find, it ends up being a cycle, right? Because it's like you find a way to look good on the outside, so it kind of perpetuates ignoring or delayed, where now we're ending up with more scarring alopecia versus non-scarring alopecia, and that is the word for that is cicatricial hair loss versus non-cicatricial hair loss. And if it becomes scarring, then you can't recover that hair. You know?
Okay, I
Okay.
need you to put a pin on that
Okay.
one because
Oh,
we're gonna
okay.
go deeper on
Oh,
that.
okay. Sorry. Yes.
Y'all are live right now with Hey Sister. I'm gonna let y'all know right now because we got a lot more things to
Oh,
cover, and
okay. No problem. No
we
problem.
just
I'm
on the
sorry.
surface right here. Cause okay, so I'm gonna hold
Yeah.
that for a second because that goes back to this conversation we started. So look, y'all make sure y'all join the conversation in the comments, like, follow, share, subscribe. Y'all make sure y'all pass this conversation on to somebody else because this is a very, very important conversation that we need to be having. We have a comment here. Let me bring that up for us. It says we talk about our hair health, what we can see, but what about scalp health? What do you recommend for a healthy scalp? Girl, we're going to talk about that. Hold that one too. We're going to talk about that because
I can't wait to touch on that one.
your scalp ain't nothing but your skin. And our skin is our largest detoxing organ. Oh, we're going to talk about detoxing that scalp and cleaning that scalp, keeping that thing. But I want to talk about this whole thing about cultural identity. So Christina set us up with this at the beginning. The last time I saw Ukali, we were talking about this. I've noticed this, as you said, Dr. LaReesa, this attempt to, so I may have had a surgery, I may have had some medication that caused some issue, I may have just come out of pregnant, I may be going through some thinning and some things, and I'm trying to figure it out. So I find a solution, or I might be younger and I'm trying to pursue an aesthetic, and I find a solution that makes me look appealing on the outside to myself. But is it protective or destructive?
Oh, wow.
So one thing Ukali told me the other day, she said, because that is related to this identity. So I'm fine with a quick weave. I'm fine with the braid. I'm fine with the boho locks, all the things. But she said, if you do it all the time, it's not protective. And then I got me to thinking about, oh yeah, because if you have a wound, the protective style is supposed to be helping you heal from something. But if you have a wound and put a Band-Aid on it, every now and then you got to take that Band-Aid off because it has to get air. You have to treat it. It has to heal. You don't just keep putting a Band-Aid on. Okay, but that's what, okay, I'm going to just shut up right now. I'm going to let y'all take that. I don't know who want to take this first, but you were talking about this getting into this alopecia because we are seeing an epidemic of women, young Black women. I've seen people putting lace fronts on children, like not no teenagers and 20-year-olds. I'm talking about 7 and 8-year-olds, or they have 7 and 8-year-olds with crochets all year long.
Yeah.
Okay, let me shut up. Okay. I know I'm coming in hot right now. Let me take a step.
It's okay. So I'm going to bring a little commentary and also just facts, because sometimes I just start with, so what are the facts? All right. So I don't have a problem with however, which gives you confidence, which makes, you look good, whatever you choose to do, However, in that vein, if you notice that your hair is not replenishing or not getting the growth that you needed, and it's not being addressed, you are increasing your chances that it's going to be reversible later.
But you mean reversible or irreversible?
No, you're increasing your chances that it will not be reversible later. So, I mean, if you could switch it around, it would be the irreverse. So that means that if you continue in that same vein without addressing what are some of the root causes of going on and allowing your hair to heal and recover, it may become permanent scarring alopecia. Okay. And that's what I
So
was
can you
bringing.
first define alopecia? Because
So hair loss. Sorry, hair loss.
okay, let's
Okay.
put that in
So
there
hair
in the
loss.
comments.
Okay.
Alopecia equals hair loss because
Hmm. Sorry about that.
famously, Jada Pinkett Smith has been talking about alopecia,
Hmm.
what that means.
Hmm. But there are different forms of alopecia.
Okay.
So when you have different forms of alopecia, so I'm just going to separate it tonight. For those, there's those in the category that are considered non-scarring alopecia, and those can be treated,
Mhm.
even if it's traction, which is some of the things we've talked about. Even if it's traction from long-term weaves or issues with your hair, it can be solved if you address it. However, if you allow it to prolong over time, and if it's evaluated, and I'm gonna touch a little bit on a comment where not only you have injury of the plants, you have injury of the soil, which is underneath in the scalp because you have vessels there. Just so think of it like a placenta in a way that's garnishing and nurturing that hair follicle. Now you've damaged the soil. So it doesn't matter what you put as far as fertilizer, you're not going to restore back the original.
Okay.
So that's what I wanted to make sure the understanding is. A lot of times when you see it, address it. Like I want you to feel the most beautiful you. I've worn weaves. I've had wigs, especially when I was transitioning to natural hair, because as a professional physician, I felt, touching on a little bit of identity, that I needed to look a certain way. I wanted to look a certain way. And honestly, it made me feel more confident and, being in, and professionally,
Mhm.
whether I'm talking in front of my colleagues, peers, or patients. At the same time, I feel just as confident in my natural hair. That was a journey. But still, in those times where I was like, okay, I don't even know what I'm doing with my hair half the time when during that transition, I did, use these other measures of keeping up with my hair. But at the same time, I did try to nurture my hair. I did
Mhm.
try to nurture what I needed to do on the inside. So whatever was going to grow was going to be healthy hair.
Okay.
Mhm.
And if I could piggyback off of what she's saying, um, I've had, I think when a person is going to a hairstylist or a cosmetologist to get the weaves or the wigs applied, it is very much a large responsibility of the cosmetologist
Mhm.
to stop you from doing the destructive things to the hair and the scalp.
Mhm.
I had a particular client that I took on a long time ago. And when she first came to me, she wore quick weaves.
Mm.
And I told her, I said, I can do these, but I don't do these because it's not supportive of scalp and hair health.
Mhm.
And she just wouldn't hear me. So what I told her, I agree. What I told her is, I will agree to do your hair if you will agree to transition out of relaxers and to at least try to wear your natural hair out. And it was a journey. I thought it would be a year. It ended up being like 5. But I transitioned her from quick weaves to regular weaves to crochet braids to braid ponytails, and now she wears just her natural hair. But what was happening was I was seeing the scalp itself was changing textures. And I
Mhm.
told her, I said, hey, once this scar's over, you won't have any hair to wear out. And I told her, and I said, if you don't stop, I can no longer service you because I can't support something that won't help you be the best and highest version of yourself when it comes to your hair. Because us as Black women, a lot of our beauty comes when we feel good about our hair.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so that's, to me, very important. I think that continual weave and wigs, especially things that cover the entire scalp, are like the detriment to us because it doesn't allow, the scalp needs to breathe.
Mm.
It needs to breathe, and we are smothering it. And then we continually smother it over and over again and then expect it to live. I'm thinking if somebody covered our nose and our mouth, eventually we would, you know, what would happen if somebody stopped us from breathing? So it's the same thing with the scalp and the hair.
That's powerful. Let it breathe. In the words of the brother D Nice, you need to let it breathe. So this is another one. I'm coming in hot on this one.
You're coming in hot, period.
So I have something called a hairline. I don't have edges. I tell people I have a hairline. We have come to the point where we always talking about snatching edges. That we have lost our hairlines. And the thing when that really got me is that people are selling tattoos. Because I'm not a baby no more, so I figure I shouldn't have baby hair. But people are selling baby hair tattoos, or they selling the stick-ons. They like, you can buy the stick-on, or what Ukali told me is no, they reach back here and they cut their hair so that they can make baby hair. I was like,
I had no idea.
Yes.
This is wow, really.
This to me, if I can interject,
please.
What I noticed with that as Black women with very textured hair is we're trying to identify with the women who have the looser textures that may have that ability to swoop it and lay it, and it can be a lot. But you're trying. It's the identity thing. It's wanting to fit in, wanting to get with the trend, and in order to get that much baby hair or edges, they have to cut into the hairline because naturally a lot of people don't have those longer baby hairs. You know, when their babies are babies, you can swoop the hair down. We as Black women, especially the younger generation, are trying to identify with the other cultures that are basically wearing our hairstyles.
Come on with it. Come on, let's talk about it.
So, you know, when you got the boxer braids, what they call Kim Kardashian, we've been wearing cornrows our whole life, but then she wears boxer braids, and then you get other Black women say, I want boxer braids. So you want some cornrows? You know, it's like, but then she gets to swoop her straight hair and it lays down beautifully and it's cute. Well, let's not deny it. It looks good, but now we
she Armenian.
Like right. So now we want our hair to look like that. And in order to get our hair like that, a lot of girls will just, they will relax their edges only. And then they will cut into the hairline and just get all that hair and swoop it in. It is happening every day. And then the ladies who lose their hair because of the extensions, they will absolutely get the tattoos, or they will do things or they'll cut back further into their hair to swoop it up. They really will. Or they'll get the lace fronts and they'll lay the lace down and it'll still smother the hairline and prevent the growth.
I'm ready to go into the wig industry because I don't know what everybody says it's going to look like in the 10 years. I'm serious because just hearing it. So let's talk about the natural hair loss progression. So men, as you know, they will either do it here, but you'll start losing in that frontal area, right? So honestly, there could be a natural hair loss when you do 2 finger breaths up when you see this receding. But for women, we tend to get it in the temples, and then it'll start in kind of a Christmas tree pattern in the middle area and then diffuse out. Or it may be diffusely all over, depending on where the damage is. Now, majority of hair loss can be attributed to genetics. And then when you count in, so let me be a nerd and a medical physician right now, where women are dealing with much more thyroid and hormonal disorders, especially Black women, autoimmune, lupus, etc. When you add those things on there from an entity where it becomes, when you're actually saying autoimmune, meaning your body is attacking it, it's going to get to a point where it becomes this scarring hair loss. Because now you've done damage over years, and then now you have that internal factor as well. And then don't let it count into the genetic, which we call androgenetic alopecia or hair loss, which is majority of hair loss that you may see out there. And it has to do with a hormone, testosterone to DHT or dihydrotestosterone that can happen in the scalp, going back to the scalp as well. And if that also, like looking at the women in your family or issues that have happened over time, when you're combating that on top of environmental caustic things that you do for over a lifetime or over years without ever addressing the health of the hair, it becomes like this cycle of band-aids, where it I don't know, it hurts me because you have women who lose hair from chemo because they have to do chemo. And that's one of the worst things. If you ever talk to a cancer patient, especially, a woman cancer patient, losing their hair on top of having to go through it, even it's, compared to life itself, but still, it's one of those things. It's heartbreaking. It's disparaging. You have a certain gut feeling about that whole scenario, but their hair can grow back after they stop chemo. Because it, on a cellular level, once you're able to remove the toxin, remove the area that is causing destruction, the body will start. It may take longer to do. Like she said, her client took 5 years. If you're patient, your hair will and can grow back. But having talented or, expert people to look at the scalp, and I've learned how to do microscopic evaluations of the scalp and see whether there's actual, what we call miniaturing hairs or dormant hairs, meaning that it's in a dormant phase, meaning that we can grow hair back here. We just have to furnish the soil, make sure the right thing. So prevent any more hair loss and then boost hair loss in order to really get that growth furnishing. And that's what a lot of women may do, even coming out of chemo, to help expedite some of those issues that have gone on.
Okay, well, let's go back to the question Arnetta posted earlier. It said, we talk about hair health, what we can see, but what about scalp health? What do we recommend for a healthy scalp? And then another question that Christina typed in was, how long does a scalp need to breathe? Because people will say they're letting their scalp breathe by taking a weave out for a week.
That's a good question.
And I've had that conversation even with my daughter. I was like, you're not braiding your hair. And she was like, you're not braiding your hair right now. Take them out and leave your hair alone and let your hair rest. And, I think even one of the things people always ask me about my hair, oh, what do you do? I don't over manipulate my hair. That's one of the things I learned from my hairstylist. But I'm going to let y'all talk about this scalp health, breathing, caring for this largest organ in our body, which is the skin. And that's all it is skin up under here.
So I'll touch a little bit on the prior question. And then I think Ukali, I don't know the answer to how long to let it breathe, because I'm one of those random people. Oh, I can't listen to my hair breathe. And I don't know what that really means, really. So, I want to speak to it of just like your skin has different layers. And actually your skin is the most protective. It's your body's first level of defense, technically, before entering into the system. So if you look at the scalp, underneath the scalp, there's vessels. There's for each follicle, it goes into a bulb. There's this little muscle here. You have sebaceous, which your glands. But so basically, I want to keep that as okay. That is still your soil. That is nourishing that scalp. So in those vessels, they can become constricted. So think about issues within our own body, that if you have atherosclerosis or you have high blood pressure.
Why don't you tell them what atherosclerosis is? High cholesterol.
It's high cholesterol, but most important, it's more than just high cholesterol, because cholesterol you need for all your hormones.
Yes.
So let's put that out there. I get so excited talking about this because in your vessels, really, is the plaque that forms in the vessels that could be contributed from abnormal cholesterol deposits and inflammation.
There it is.
Inflammation. And if I get an opportunity, if we have time toward the end of the show, I did what I have started to do or learning, using some of my integrative science is doing hair analysis, because the hair can keep up to 90 days of knowing what your body's been through. And it can help characterize those things that in the environment that are impacting hair loss or hair injury at more of an accelerated rate, and you want to be able to nourish it. Excuse me. So if you're feeding that soil what it needs, part of that could be what you need to evaluate, like whether it's medications, whether it's exposures, whether it's anything. Like a lot of us use biotin and high dose and everything, and your gut is crap. Like you're not absorbing all what you need to absorb anyway. But if you want to be able to furnish or make sure you're nurturing the scalp, I do believe in depending on the extent of hair loss, especially if a large part of genetics and other factors, is that you, in order to help prevent, is to laser. I'm a big fan of laser grade things or other medications, even things like Propecia, what other people have found out too, is because what it's going to do is going to help prevent and stabilize hair loss. And especially if it has to do with that hormone I talked about, DHT, because you want to be able to furnish those blood vessels and everything. So once you add this other stuff or your product, you're able to boost actual hair growth, but you have to stabilize and stop the hair loss. And
You
so
got to get underneath. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. The soil fertilizer for the plant. Okay,
and not the topsoil.
Huh?
You got not the topsoil. You got to go into the earth, down deep, right? Because how many layers do we have of skin? Because we got it's a lot of layers there.
Yeah, well, it's enough. So the basis is your epidermis and your dermis, but you have your connective tissue and stuff. And before you get to the musculature, it's not that kind of program to go in that much detail.
I know, but I'm just saying it's a lot of things that we got to nurture up under there that we take for granted. All right, Ukali, we're gonna toss it to you. How long we gotta let it breathe, girl?
Well, that's very dependent upon the person, the type of hairstylist that they have, and the products that they use. Just to piggyback off of what Dr. LaReesa was talking about, as a cosmetologist, I do what I call a pre-treatment to all of my clients for the topical. If you're nourishing the soil, it's okay the topical things will just add on, and it will help develop a beautiful head of healthy hair. So I do a pre-treatment to all of my clients, and I let it sit anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, depending on what's going on with the scalp. Relatively, most of my clients have healthy scalps, but sometimes they come with product buildup, depending on where they've traveled, depending on what products. A lot of products for curly hair is heavy. So it creates a buildup because not only do you have the product sitting on there, but you also have the oil secretions that your scalp naturally does, and then the oil that you add on there. So to me, a pre-treatment before you even shampoo the hair is vital to scalp health. And as long as you take care of the scalp, the hair will, it'll shine for you. It'll help you out a lot. And so when you talk about doing in between styling, let's say if you're wearing a wig, a weave, or braids or anything like that, personally, I believe that a person should go no shorter than 2 weeks. That's on styles that don't cause a lot of tension. So you talk about depending on who's doing your hair, right? Some people braid tighter than others. Some people don't. And that's very dependent upon the stylist. So the minimum that I would say you could go is 2 weeks. A week is not enough time. You will start develop some some traction alopecia or some tension alopecia, I try to tell my clients to wait at least a month. 4 to 6 weeks is a great time to treat. You need to treat your hair. You need to trim your hair. You need to just leave it out and let it be, and then come back and you can cycle back into your whatever styles you want, whether it's wigs, weaves, or crochet braids or regular braids.
Okay. Ooh, child. Let's see. It says, Ukali, a lot of hairstylists are now doing prepaid consultations before agreeing to style hair. What sort of questions should a client ask to ensure that the consultation is authentic and not simply a way of monetizing services?
Okay. Well, I think that any stylist is going to, good question. I personally would first say, are you a hairstylist or cosmetologist? What type of hair do you specialize in? When we talk about natural hair, a lot of times I get a lot of clients to say, everybody says they do natural hair, but to them, natural hair is braids, crochet braids, wigs, and weaves, right? When you looking for natural hair, you first want to, you can look at a stylist and tell what they do based on how their hair looks, right? But then you ask the questions, exactly what are you looking for? I personally want to know, are you licensed? Are you a licensed braider or are you a licensed cosmetologist? Those are two different things. Two different types of schooling, two different licenses, and there's two different capabilities, right? A braider usually is not going to shampoo, blow dry, or do no prep to your hair. You have the sole responsibility of that. All they're going to do is braid your hair. They do no upkeep, no nothing, right? When you have a cosmetologist, they tend to do it all. They will shampoo you, they will blow dry you, they will treat you, they will do everything. In the world of Instagram hairstylists, they like to treat it as an add-on, right? I personally, when people have 1,000 rules as a cosmetologist, I don't care how good you are, I'm not coming. Because if you're going to charge me $700 for my braids, the least you could do is shampoo and blow dry my hair. But if you cannot do it, then that means you're just a licensed braider, not a cosmetologist. Because a lot of licensed braiders don't want to be responsible, or they can't, depending on their state, they can't do that. So in a consultation, you want to ask, what is your specialty? Is there anything else that you specialize in? And let them tell you what they specialize in. Don't ask them, do you specialize in braids? Can you do braids? Like, just ask them, what is your specialty? What do you like doing the most? Right? And any stylist is going to say, hey, you need a treatment, you need this, but you can say why. You can say, what products are you using and why are you using those products? You know, these are very important questions, because sometimes stylists are just going to Target and picking up some Tresemme and they're using what you're using. But you have to ask these questions of what products are you using? Where do you get these products from? Do you use them on your own hair? You know, do you do your own hair? Does somebody else do your hair? You can ask as many questions as you want. I think depending on where you find the stylist and who they are, they're always going to monetize, but you'll tell if they're truly authentic is the fact that what they're willing and not willing to do. Right?
Can I add to that as well? I think all of those are great points, for sure. But it will, only because I can be cerebral. If I talk to someone and they haven't asked me how long I've had a problem, I have an issue with that. And, you know, because to me, if you're not interested of the timeline or what's been going on with my hair and you're just making assumptions, then you haven't really collectively, you know, you've put me in a batch of, you know, a whole bunch of other people. You know, how do you know? Okay, I finished chemo 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? To me, that would be imperative, you know, to really understand. So that's one of the questions that, I mean, as a client, that I would appreciate if somebody's doing a consultation. okay, what are some of the issues? How long have you had this problem? What have you tried? What has worked? Just really trying to understand what's going to differentiate me from just somebody they're going to just throw treatments to.
Well, we got a question here. I'm gonna toss it up. It says, "Are there now special schooling or license for natural hair? Is that needed or suggested?"
There are no special licenses to do natural hair. There are schools that are implementing that into the curriculum, but those are few far and in between, because it's what hair schools do is they teach you how to pass the state board. So naturally, in hair school, it's almost like natural selection in a way, because a lot of people go to hair school because either you're really good at it and you have natural talent for it, and the other half go for it because they want to make a lot of money. And because you can make a lot of money in hair, and they'll naturally weed themselves out if you truly like to do hair or if you just want to make a lot of money. And either way, you'll learn. But natural hair is not in the curriculum. It is not required to become licensed. Chemical services, basic hair cutting with scissors and razors, those things are required, but not natural hairstyling. That is something you end up learning either on each other or on the floor, if you are lucky enough to be in a place where people come and get it done. If not, then it's really an on-the-job thing, or you can go into a salon that specializes in it if you want to pick up that skill set. There's different ways, but it's definitely not a requirement. New York just added it, that all cosmetologists have to learn it. But I'm not sure what that curriculum is going to look like, because it's a very wide range of what we call natural hair. I've done anywhere from, loose curls to extremely kinky Afro curls, so it's a wide range. And that curriculum is just as big as any other part of the cosmetology portions. That would actually have to be like an add-on part of the curriculum.
Well, let's talk about that texture. So, because we got a question that's dropped in there too, and we had this in here to talk about textures, real or fake. So they got 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. They got all of this stuff. And so the question that someone put in here was, we're still talking about 4C, 3B, and all sorts of things. What say you about these curl types? What is real and what is not?
I like to use, when people bring up the hair types, it's a great way to use it to maybe find products or get a good basis of where you can start with your hair, right? So A is straight, B is curly, C is kinky, right? One is grows down, or I'm sorry, one is kinky, 2 is wavy, 3 is curly, 4 is kinky. A grows down, B grows out, C grows up. Okay, so you can have a texture of 3C, right? So you'll have loose curly hair, but it will always be in an afro. No matter what you do, your hair will revert to an afro. That can be in any texture. Exactly. We know when we wet your hair and we put product in it, it lays right down, right? But as soon as it dries, it goes right back into an afro. That's the beautiful for the C part of the hair. You could be 4C, 3C, 2C. We've seen people with straighter textures have froze because they have that C texture. But to me, I don't think you should put yourself in a box, because within those textures, there's still different textures. Everybody with 4C hair doesn't look the same. Everybody with 4B, 4A, 3, you don't look the same. Actually, you can have 2 different textures within one strand. 2 to 3
I feel like I have
textures.
at least 3.
So for me, I like to use it when I'm talking to clients. I say it's a good place to use if you're trying to find a product, if you're trying to, start a regimen, but you also need to take into account that if your hair is porous, regular or highly porous, because that also is a huge factor when you're looking for products, not just your hair type. But don't limit yourself and put yourself in a box, because once you get your hair to a great place, it can mimic another texture. You can use other products, but you have to, I think it's a great place, like a base, a foundation to start with, but don't leave yourself in that box.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's interesting? People always talk about, and this is not necessarily long hair. Like, so when you talk about the texture, so shrinkage. Like my hair doesn't shrink, my hair expands.
Yes.
And so if I put a band on my hair and pull it back, it's just going to get big. It's just going to keep expanding. My hair just expands. It don't bounce back until we have like literally really, really washed it and conditioned it. Like we starting over. And
Yes.
so it's amazing because all of our hair behaves differently. And I think it's just so very important, whether it's relaxed or natural, or you do perms, shoot, even if you're still doing a Jerry curl, whatever you're doing to it in terms of navigating how you like to style it and wear it on a regular basis, becoming intimately connected and knowledgeable about how it grows out your scalp, I think is so very important to take you through the journey, the whole life cycle of the journey, because otherwise you're just doing stuff and you're just adding, like we said, you're just putting band-aids and bandages over, and you're never really treating the root issues.
Yes.
You know, you never getting, it's just like you said, if your grass is dead on top, you can put some seed down in some other grass. But if that soil is bad and not the topsoil, when they come and put new grass down, they dig all that topsoil, they go down a level, then they treat just the dirt first before they do anything else. There's another thing that was at a question, okay, that we have here, and we might go a little bit over our time, so I hope y'all are with me. I want to talk about this. It's something that Ukali freed me of a long time ago, because people were always talking about, oh, they do a co-wash and a co-wash. I want to talk about this co-wash myth, and how she set me free was because I was like, I didn't really like what they did, and I don't really know. And I see all of these and people talking about they doing co-wash, like this don't make sense to me. And the way they phrased it, because I'll never forget, it was you and Sunny, and that y'all were like, and they were like, would you get into the shower and just use lotion? And I was like, oh, because you're not really cleaning anything. And so the whole thing, I was like, because conditioner ain't nothing but the lotion. Got to be more careful. So let's talk about this co-wash myth. Because if we have buildup on our scalp, like you said, the soil, the root there, just doing co-wash is not, when you're working out and you're running from hither to fro, you're in the sun, a co-wash really ain't doing what it needs to be done. I'll just leave it at that. So tell us about this co-wash. Where did this come from?
I believe it came from, it came in the YouTube days where a lot of bloggers, when the natural hair movement was coming into play, and a lot of women were trying to figure out how to get their best texture. And when we go through this journey of transitioning, as we all have been through, you're looking for your true texture of curl. And a lot of times, majority of women don't get that initially. It just looks dry. It looks like an afro. And every woman thinks their hair is dry and kinky, and that's just not the case. So they wanted to speed up the process. They wanted to hurry up and get to the end of the journey in the beginning. And what they did was they just, tried to find the best way to get the actual curl instantly. And so they created this co-wash thing, or even a non-lather shampoo, which it does give you a lot of moisture so that your natural curls can shine and come out. But over a long period of time, that is not healthy for the scalp. That's like overwatering a plant to me. when you give a plant too much water, it will drown and it will still die. So when you just keep building on and building on of products, and eventually the hair will stop taking in the co-wash, the conditioner, because it's so much buildup on top of the hair and inside that the hair can't take on anything else, and it ends up still mimicking dryness. No definition and things like that. But that came during the YouTube days of people that weren't licensed, that only dealt with their own hair, and everybody was listening to them because their texture was beautiful, and oh my, I want my hair to look like that, and what are you doing? And then it blew up from there. I promise you, to this day, there are products out there that are non-lathering shampoos, and I'm not against them, but it definitely needs to be behind a clarifying or some kind of surfactant that pulls out impurities from the hair, from the scalp, because shampoo is for the scalp, conditioner is for the hair.
Oh, girl, let me tell you, the shampoo is for the scalp. Conditioner
I need to plug up my computer real quick.
is for the hair. Okay, we got that. Oh my God. Let's see. We have a question here. It was brought up about gut health for inside out care. Can you give a few pointers on that?
Oh, absolutely. So the first thing, if one of the crucial questions I ask about gut health, or just to have an idea, and just to link this back to hair care, is that I find that there are a lot of supplements out there on the market, whether it's a hair, skin, nail vitamin, or just anything that you could be, ingesting or taking for hair care or hair health, is what is happening on the intestinal layer, because 70% of your immune system is in your gut. There are certain factors on those layers of that immune system that are contributing to factors of your hormones, whether melatonin for sleep gets produced, so there are a lot of things that happen in the gut. And so if someone is not pooping, that's one question, as far as if you're not having a regular bowel movement every day, and we're not going to go through the constellation of talking about poop and what it looks like and everything, but still, that's a good idea for me to think, okay, is this person really someone that is having good gut health on that layer? Because there's so many things that happen in the gut. Another question I'll ask is if you've been treated for a GI issue or problem, especially if you're on protein pump inhibitors, and that could be like your Protonics out there, those medicines that end with the ZOLE.
Anything for reflux or GERD.
Yeah, for reflux or GERD. Sometimes long-term therapy of any of those things, even from contraceptives, could also disturb your gut bacteria. And so you want healthy, what we call microbiome. And that microbiome is your difference of healthy gut bacteria to make sure that more invasive or viral, or those that want to invade and cause destruction on that layer, at the end of the day, it can decrease the amount of absorption. This is important because our body is made of cells. Cells produce energy from the nutrients that we put in our system, and then it's able to allow other growth factors to do what they do in our system and our body. So, and then if you're someone that tends to get bloated a lot after certain foods, that also is a sign of some type of gut barrier or issue. And so there's certain things out there that some people may know, like leaky gut, or something called SIBO, not going in detail about those type of things, but all of those are inflammatory related conditions that can attack or have issues on your immune system. And if that is going on basically in the gut, not only can it impact how you're utilizing your nutrients to actually, have the outcome that you want on your hair, but it has so many other impacts, from fatigue to brain fog to just energy and sleep. So all of it is interconnected. And so that's what that integrative, that whole body connection goes into. Because if we're really talking about hair loss recovery, then you have to look at it as it's something that the internal connection has to also be placed on some emphasis to truly get the desired results.
Ooh, child, listen. Okay, so we are at our time for tonight. So I want to say, so I'm going to ask each of you, what is your hair goal for us as a collective? I'm gonna start with you, Dr. LaReesa, because you have an event coming up in a few days, and you're going to be talking about hair, skin, and nails, glow for the holiday shine. So tell us about that and how people can sign up. And you
Oh,
can type in the comments where the website.
yes, absolutely. So let me type in the comments the website, and then there'll be a pop-up even on the website. But if you have this up on your screen right now, where you're coming from your mobile or your desktop, there's a QR code that you could be able to do. It said that it failed to post, so maybe you can post it for me, Demetria. It's just thrivebeyondwellness.com.
Okay.
I don't know what happened on this side. So anyway, so during this event, which is Thursday, 7 p.m., it's a virtual event. You can register today. But on that hashtag hair goals, I'm all about making sure women understand that whole body connection of aging well and thriving well today. So Age Well, Thrive Now has been birthed into a masterclass series on hot topics that we need to add more context and information around. And one of those things has to do with hair, skin, and nails. Like, what is it more than just a beauty product? Yes. And I always am one to mention that, at the end of the day, a lot of what's out there is there to enhance what you already have. And if you're able to target on those areas that you want to revitalize, restore, you're going to spend less money out there. Because one thing that's for true is that the aging biological clock is going to happen. How it affects you will be what you do about your certain self-care routine of your hair, skin, and nails. Understanding how cellular aging impacts you down from your medications to your epigenetics or your immune system. And then some of those natural things that you need to, that I think will be helpful to understand from a lifestyle factor, as well as from a beauty trend factor, to really help make sure that those things that you need to know now, because I don't know about you, I felt like I was on Noxema for years. I didn't have anyone to tell me nothing. These are things that I had to learn over time. And I know I'm not the only one out here.
Absolutely not.
So I think it's a lot of stuff out there online. It's a lot of stuff, especially being thrown at you, especially during the holidays. And this gives an opportunity to really centralize some of the information and really get you what you need. So if I had to tell anyone to do anything, not only to register and be there on Thursday night, but if you recognize a problem, you have an opportunity to do something about it. Don't suffer and Band-Aid your way through things. Age well, thrive now.
Okay. And honey, even with a Band-Aid, you got to take it off and let it breathe.
Yeah.
All right. How about that? Ukali, let's you can find her on you can follow her there on Instagram. I'm gonna drop her Booksy link in there as well, so that you can book if you are looking for someone who, again, she does it all. So she does braids, she does the boho locks, but she will help you take care of the foundation and take care of your hair and get comfortable with your hair. You relax hair too. I think you still relax hair. People want to relax. Do you still relax hair? Oh, she don't relax hair anymore. Sorry about that. Sorry. She's still on the creamy crack. She ain't giving you none. But you can take care, but again, you need to know what your hair state is like without the creamy crack or anything else. So what's your hair goals for us?
My hair goals for us as a people is to be able to confidently wear your hair. It is okay to do boho locks, to do braids, to do weaves, to do wigs. But wearing your hair confidently and proudly is the ultimate statement.
Mm.
It is the ultimate statement. It is the ultimate form of beauty. And in order to do that, you must go on the journey and you must figure it out. But having people like me and stylists who support these journeys makes it easier. It makes it easier to transition. It makes it easier to get into the space of, oh my gosh, I didn't have, one of my clients said, my hair hasn't been this long since high school. You know, and all we did was transition her out. We color her, we bleach her, and her hair is still down to her waist, you know, and she now prefers to wear only her hair as opposed to braids and other styles. But when she comes at, and when she does wear those styles, she comes right back to her beauty, her beautiful, her hair. And that's my goal, is for having all of us to be able to say, I can wear my hair. I wear my hair. I can do that too, but I wear my hair.
I love that. I love that. Yes, indeed. Well, listen, we're going to have to do a part 2, obviously, because I think that there were some conversation that, you know, there's still more conversation. I think there's just still more knowledge we need to have, and that there's not enough out there, or just not enough honest dialogue out there about the transitions, about even the aging process and what that looks like and the impact that it has on our hair. But I will say the last thing you said there about that being confident, you know, when I cut all my hair off, people would tell me about all the things that I needed to do to still maintain natural hair and this, that, and other. And it had never had anything about the style, the length of it, the size of it. When I did the big chop, twist out, whatever, none of that matters. Is that I'm good with how it looks whatever room I walk into. So I always get, oh, your hair looks so good. It ain't got nothing to do with the hair.
No,
it's me. And so that's my goal for all of us, is that we as women of color appreciate that diversity, our biodiversity, and embrace our biodiversity, and know that however we show up, people still paying thousands of dollars to get things that we were born with. So with that being said, y'all hold the line and say good night, everybody.
Good night.
good night, everybody.